Here we go then. Humanity's agreement with the Disrotian Confederation had proven extremely beneficial for them, not in the least because it had afforded them a whole slew of new technologies and advances. Clean energy and industry helped begin undo the damage done by mankind to the planet, and under the watchful, if somewhat patronizing, eyes of the Disrotians, humanity began to take its first steps beyond the solar system, serving as crew aboard the seemingly titanic vessels. Although the vessels were designed for use by the much larger quadrupeds, specially adapted workstations allowed humans to make a meaningful contribution to the operation of the craft aboard which they served. As tales of the successes of the humans serving with the Disrotians reached both Earth and Disrotia, the Disrotians found themselves overwhelmed with the number of volunteers stepping forward to serve with the Disrotian Defense Forces. Sensing a chance to exploit the high reproduction rate of humans, 1 per every 9 of their months, compared to the 25 that a Disrotian took to mature, several new classes of small warships and starfighter were introduced, built to be officered by Disrotians, but mainly crewed and operated by humans. Whilst some humans complained at the lack of equality aboard, the ships they were crewing were slow, primitive and undergunned compared to the regular military, and their officers were chosen more on the basis of political reliability than military capability. The Disrotians pointed out that humanity was still rather primitive by Disrotian standards, and it would take a long time for them to become uncivilized. Initial combat action against pirates and smugglers proved the humans' worth to their officers, taking as easily to war in space as they had taken to war on their home planet, but they had still not won the approval or respect of the majority of Disrotians. Amidst all of this, the neighboring Mervo hive had grown concerned at the expansionist policies of the Confederation and began secret preparations for war. Whilst maintaining a calm diplomatic front, ships were quietly positioned towards Disrotia and war plans were drawn up. A surprise attack was launched on Earth, quickly overwhelming the token defenses and forcing the human government to surrender, withdraw from the Disrotian Confederation and order all humans to resign at once from the Disrotian Defense Forces. This order came just as a Mervo force was detected heading for Disrotia Prime, with the only force close enough to defend the planet being the ceremonial home fleet and the accompanying 303rd Human Auxiliary Combat Wing, who had been brought to the capital on a spur-of-the-moment decision to parade in front of the citizenry as an example of the good work that the Confederation was doing in uplifting a primitive race. To the utter surprise and astonishment of the Disrotians, who were desperately issuing recall orders for their war fleets that had been sent to deter other powers from attacking, so sure were they that no Mervo attack was imminent, the humans did not leave their posts. Recovered logs tell us that on board the flagship the human first officer, Sub-Commander Vasquez, had looked quizzically at her Disrotian captain and asked why she was being relieved, had she performed her duties poorly, or was there some other fault in her conduct? Such defiance of orders initially confused the Disrotians, but as more detailed scans showed the size and composition of the Mervo strike force they realized they could ill afford there to turn away the humans and order them to be deployed with the home fleet as a reserve. Upon reversion to Realspace, the Mervo dreadnoughts opened fire and decimated the home fleet. The slow Disrotian vessels proving a perfect target for the large Mervo guns. With nothing standing between the Mervo and the capital of the Confederation, the commander of the 303rd, who had received command after the total destruction of the home fleet, saw no other option but to order to engage. The small, agile vessels screamed towards the enemy, weaving amongst the deadly volleys of light more suited to destroying larger targets. And with a final order of engage the enemy more closely from Sub-Commander Vasquez, the 303rd opened fire. The Mervo found themselves fighting a battle they were ill-equipped to fight, not having brought a starfighter complement as they had drawn the bare minimum of ships away so as not to raise suspicion, and so had to rely on their point defenses. When it became apparent that the weapons of the 303rd were insufficient to penetrate the enemy's shielding, several craft volunteered for suicide runs, the explosive detonation of their reactors being enough to tear a hole in the shields of the capital ships. Back on Disrotia, the moment that a Mervo vessel winked out of existence on sensor displays raised a mighty shout of triumph That cut through the tension. Who could have possibly predicted that their safety would now depend on a handful of primitives and deliberately obsolete craft? If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe.